A vile dragon invades a kingdom and holds its princess captive in her own castle. A damsel in distress in need of rescue? Or is there something more to this compelling adventure module from Dark Wizard Games? Coming right up on RPG Retro Reviews. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel RPG Retro Reviews. I'm Captain Courageous and I review old school modules and games, try to give them a fun and informative analysis. This week, I'm taking a look at another module from Dark Wizard Games, Palace of the Dragon Princess, the 5th module in the Maximum Mayhem series. Like almost all of the modules in this series, it emulates the trade dress of early TSR Dungeons & Dragons modules and is written for the Osric game system, though it could easily be played using Swords and Wizardry, Old School Essentials, or just about any old school D&D game. However, if you also like 5th edition D&D or Pathfinder, there is a conversion guide PDF available for free download on Dark Wizard's website as well. There's a lot to cover with this one, so let's begin. Spoiler warning, I will be delving into many of the secrets of the module, so be warned if you intend to play. Otherwise, let's begin. The author of the module is Dark Wizard's founder, Mark Taormino. Mark is an interesting character in his own right. In addition to the title of game designer, Mark makes his living as a software engineer, but he also has a side gig as a character actor in movies, commercials, and music videos, and even has his own entry in the Internet Movie Database. Thus, his pedigree as a creative is well established. Many classic adventure yarns involve a young hero or heroine seemingly locked into a life of poverty or servitude that they do not care for and look to the outside world with wide-eyed exuberance, wishing to escape their drudgery and seek out a life of adventure. As the story progresses, the reality of actually accomplishing that adventure is transformational to the life of the hero, both for good and ill. In Palace of the Dragon Princess, Mark Taormino does a great job in capturing that aesthetic in the titular Princess Francesca Wildingham, who lives a life of privilege that is common to the children of royalty, but also trapped within the castle walls for her own protection and put upon with duty, such as having to marry the evil knight Zargon Valtorius, a man she does not love after her father's tragic death. As the daughter of King Rufus Wildingham, she was given a fine education, as was fitting of her station, and the vast castle that was her home became the vast labyrinth full of mystery in her mind to parallel the adventure stories she read in the castle's library. A privileged and kept princess with the longing heart of a wanderer and an adventurer, she is a very well-developed character. And in fact, Mark does a phenomenal job of giving detailed backstories for each of the 3 titular characters in the module's story. Zargon Valtorius is a knight of honor and King Rufus's loyal right-hand man. Starting from humble beginnings, his rise to a privileged position within the monarchy is given the full treatment here. Valtorius is an evil character, but he's lawful evil, and I can't remember a time seeing the nuance of such a character given such detail in a module before, as the knight pines for the hand of the princess and the power that comes with such a union, manipulating the king into agreeing to the marriage and then dastardly implementing the wedding ceremony before the king's corpse has had a chance to grow cold. Finally, there is the dragon Malfesto, who was forced to cede much of his territory to human invaders and even gravely injured with the bolt from a magical ballista. The dragon remains bent on revenge for the crimes perpetrated against him, lurking in the darkness, spying on his enemies and waiting for a weakness to be shown so that he can exact his revenge. To this end, he has ceded the kingdom, with magical red crystals or dragon eyes through which he can spy on those who possess them. Of course, in her explorations of the castle that is her home, a place itself one of ancient secrets, Pallas Francesca uncovers one of the mysterious crystals, ultimately leading to the tragedy in the story. Add to the mix a mysterious dragon cult and the highly detailed White Palace, which is the primary setting for the adventure, and you have all the makings for a fantastic fantasy adventure yarn that will take quite a few game sessions to resolve and is a great addition to an ongoing mid to high level campaign. The cartography by Alan Chamberlain is really quite stunning, as you can see here, and really breathes life into what could just be your typical castle map. The backstories of the module take up the first 8 pages and certainly gives the referee the NPC's motivations and desires that will allow them to run the adventure appropriately, because as you will see, the ending of the module is not fixed at all, and depending on the actions of the player characters can branch off into several different directions, which certainly elevates this module above and beyond your standard dungeon crawl. The primary conflict of the adventure begins when King Rufus mysteriously dies and Sargon forcefully enacts the wedding ceremony with the princess. On that day, Malfesto attacks and takes over the castle. Sargon survives, but both he and the princess end up a prisoner within, and this is where the player characters become involved in the story. The module provides several ways to get involved in this adventure, and a few of them are deliciously deceptive. My personal favorite is that a wealthy merchant couple hires the heroes to find their missing son Sargon, who tragically disappeared on his wedding day. Given the actual backgrounds involved, uncovering the true story of the castle should provide for some amusement, especially for the referee. But there's also the dragon cult. Escaped prisoners from the castle the heroes might come across who tell of the crazy dragon cult conducting blood sacrifices and a mysterious leader who calls himself the Master. A drinking binge at a local tavern uncovers rumors of a ruined castle and a beautiful princess being held captive within by an evil dragon, or possibly a friend who previously took up the quest to find and rescue the princess but never returned. Of course, there's the old reliable rumors table for those players sly enough to ask around town about what might be going on. The module also provides several means of egress into the ruined fortress, including the main gate, of course, and a breach in the castle walls. Once inside, the adventure proper begins. Quite a few of the encounters do not have to lead to combat, and in fact, interaction with the dragon cult will most likely be the first thing the PCs encounter with this wandering cultist. They can garner quite a bit of information about the mysterious dragon cult that has settled into the castle. Quite a few things are not as they seem, and piecing together this mystery is a big part of the challenge and the fun. That's not to say there isn't some fun combat to be held as well. The topiary garden is quite dangerous, as the plants are far more than just sculpted animal-shaped hedges. Exploration will uncover clues, ghosts, and of course, vast amounts of treasure. One of the hallmark encounters of this adventure is that of the dragon cult and its charismatic but insane leader, the Master Dragos. Here the heroes have an opportunity to pose as recruits seeking membership into the cult. Or perhaps they actually are genuinely seeking to join the cult. It's hard to say what player characters will do in these situations. Either way, it seems likely that this will culminate in a direct combat confrontation with the Master and his forces. Thus, in addition to the obvious climactic encounter with the dragon Malfesto, the cult serves as a warm-up to the climax of the adventure. My major criticism here is that I think Mark gets a bit too caught up in the scenes he's trying to build here, giving the introduction of Dragos a massive amount of box text that takes up almost a full page. I can't imagine a party letting the DM get through this entire scene without attempting to interrupt or to attack. I like box text. I like it when the player information and the DM information is clearly delineated. This is just too text dense in my humble opinion. That's not to say that it isn't interesting or well written, and certainly it's entertaining, Of course, there is a lot of potential in the setup here, as depending on what's happened, some of the PCs might end up as offerings to the dragon, thus necessitating a rescue. This sets up a scene very reminiscent of the sacrifice scene in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and in this regard, it's very well done. There's even the massive pit of unknown depth to traverse afterwards. Finally, after dealing with the cult, things shift to the matter at hand. A defeated and bedraggled Sargon is encountered left to his own devices, who has been unable to best the dragon thus far and been imprisoned in the massive pit, delivering a soliloquy on how he ended up in such a deplorable place and state, how the princess has been corrupted by the dragon, and how he must defeat all comers who would think to usurp his rightful place as suitor to the princess and heir to the kingdom, and so forth. Clearly driven mad. This is especially effective if the heroes were hired by Sargon's merchant parents to find their missing son and now deranged knight. After confronting Sargon, the final boss of the place is, of course, Malfesto the dragon. The interesting thing here is that the ending really is up to the DM to interpret based on what hooks lured the heroes to take on this adventure in the first place and how the various encounters have gone. There are a lot of variables in place, and the ending is multiple choice. Tarmino lists 4 possibles, but there are others. 1. The princess had a dream that one of the heroes would come to her rescue and can pick the appropriate PC for the honor. Or 2, the princess likes things as they are and sides with the dragon. Or 3, the princess is actually under the thrall of the dragon and doesn't appear to want to leave, but after the dragon's defeat, snaps out of it, so to speak. And 4, the princess and Dragos, the cult leader, have fallen in love and have hatched an unholy alliance to find a way to defeat the dragon and take power in the kingdom for themselves. Of course, defeating Malfesto results in a massive amount of treasure and magic items for the PCs, which befits a quest of this magnitude. Story-wise, what happens next will certainly have a major effect on your campaign going forward. Did the heroes just take the treasure and leave? Does one of them marry the princess and rule at her side? Do they remain in the kingdom, perhaps as knights of the princess, perhaps as her troubleshooters, uncovering threats that have emerged while the dragon was in charge? There's no wrong answer here, and there are certainly a lot of possibilities going forward. Cover art for this module was done by Brian McCroney, and the outstanding interior art is by Jacob Blackman, Carlos Castillo, TSR alum Jeff D., Ed Lacabane, Mark Lyons, Fred Rawls, Hugh Vault, and Phil Stone, who I recently commissioned to do my own Game on Troll, as you may recall. The outstanding cartography for this module is by Alan Chamberlain. Getting a copy of this module is super easy, as it's available as a printed copy on the Dark Wizards website for just $20, or perhaps at your friendly local game store, and as a PDF at DriveThruRPG for just $10. So let's take a look at Palace of the Dragon Princess on my D20 scale of style, presentation, and value. Style-wise, the Maximum Mayhem series continues to deliver on its premise of Gonzo first edition style modules that emulate the feel of the old school TSR modules, but up it a notch in several key areas. The artwork is nothing less than breathtaking and really captures the wonky nature of the encounters within. There's also a lot of it. The cartography is detailed, precise, and artistic, but also amazingly functional. While full color masterpieces might be pretty to look at, for old school tabletop play, it's entirely unnecessary and usually wasted, as the players will never actually see it. The mapping style here is an upgrade from TSR's traditional map presentations, but not overly so. For me, it really strikes a nice balance. I'm going to rate this an 18. The presentation is also very well done. I did find a few minor editing errors, but nothing overly problematic. The major NPCs are given colorful and dramatic backgrounds that will inform the referee on how to play them when encountered later on in the module. I really like how there are several different conflicts introduced. The dragon cult in it and its leader, Master Dragos. the Knight Sargon Valtorius, in addition to the Dragon Malfesto and Princess Francesca, giving the module a lot of nuance that keeps this from being just a case of enter the castle, fight the minions, kill the dragon, rescue the princess, get the treasure. My one major criticism here is the volume of Pock's text, but that's just me personally. I do not care for text walls that are to be read aloud to the players. I do like player information and DM information kept separate. Of course, referees are free to paraphrase as they see fit, so for those who like this sort of thing, you'll find it in abundance here. I like the detailed character backgrounds, but feel they are a bit underutilized, especially in the case of the evil knight Sargon Valtorius, who is found at the end of the module trapped in a pit. Personally, I might have the knight cunningly ask the players for aid in defeating the dragon. During combat, he might hold back and avoid much injury, as he can then, once the dragon is defeated and the party is heavily damaged, turn on them, which goes to the module's strengths here. Due to the backgrounds provided, each referee has a lot of leeway on how things might play out. I'm going to rate this a 16. Finally, let's talk value. This module will most definitely change the course of a campaign. In fact, it could be the final adventure of such, as afterwards the players retire, perhaps one of them marrying the princess, and the rest using the massive amount of treasure within to make lives of comfort for themselves. Given the open-ended nature of so many of the encounters and the multiple choice ending, that this is also a module that has a lot of replayability. I can assure you no two game groups will play this out the same way. The pages are thick, the text large, and easy to read. They cover a nice heavy cardstock that you can stand up and be used as a screen, and the brilliant artwork. At only $10 for the PDF or $20 for the print copy, it's clear a lot of passion has gone into this project, and I can do nothing less than rate this a natural 20 critical hit. That brings my overall rating for Maximum Mayhem Dungeons number 5, Palace of the Dragon Princess 2 and 18. Very good. Thank you all so much for watching. I've got a massive backlog of modules and games to review. People keep sending me stuff. Really cool things like the top secret box set, an OSR called Chromatic Dragons, a modern horror game from the creators of Buffy the Vampire RPG called Night Shift, not to mention some of the cool print-on-demand games and modules I've picked up with that sweet affiliate money. All coming up right here on RPG Retro Reviews. I'd like to thank all of my patrons who support the channel month after month for your continued support. Without you, these videos would not be possible. Please give the video a like, comment, and share. Please check out my Teespring store for great gaming swag, t-shirts, carry bags, coffee cups, and more. Join the channel's Facebook page, RPG Retro Reviews, and consider supporting the channel by becoming a patron yourself. Or alternatively, you can just send a tip through the PayPal tip jar. Link is in the description. And as always, my friends, may your D20 roll true and game on.